Some say that the customer is the most important part of the whole journey in your business. And look at this. Oh, it's over there. Look at that. Lifestyle marketing path. This is your customer journey. And all this and more is exactly what we're going to be getting into today. What's up, Sales Ascender and FlowChat fam? You are here at the spotlight, and this is going to be a fun conversation. We brought on a fellow Sales Ascender, a fellow FlowChat family member today. You're going to love her because she's full of life. She always is smiling. She has a ton of energy, and she also just happens to conveniently be really great at the customer journey. And the truth is, if we're all honest, we know there's holes in this customer journey. If you're ahead of the game, you happen to have this actually mapped out on paper. Unfortunately, the truth is most of us don't, but that's okay. We have a roadmap today that we're going to be getting into. You already saw a sneak peek, but in order to properly go through this, we got to do it together, and we're going to need the help of Miss Jade. Jade, how's it going today?
Hey!
Everyone listening, watching, we're going to go on a journey together about their customer journey as a business owner, fellow business, that's who we're speaking to today, other sales and marketing professionals. Yeah, customer journey matters. The exercise and personal experience, sitting down and really writing it down, or like I prefer the whiteboard that I have over here, just in detail, focusing on it brings insane amounts of clarity from a point of leadership, from a point of marketing and sales and branding, all the things. This is one of the most powerful things you can do if you're early on, just starting your business, or even if you're further along in your business cycle and haven't revisited this for a while. So I love this conversation, and you put together a great graphic. I'll let you cue me in and when that needs to come out. Where do we start with this?
Yeah, so the reason that I care about this so much is because my primary business is freelance automation consulting. So I make a living out of like optimizing and automating these little pieces. And not just, when people think like sales and marketing automation, you think like, oh, click this, get that. But it's also internal. It's everything from someone doesn't know you to raving fan. I mean, it's all the moving pieces. So I'm constantly building these things for people on a regular basis. And since I'm a freelancer, I'm often like meeting new people and having this conversation from day one over and over again. And I found this framework, if you want to go ahead and put it up.
Yeah.
I found this framework to be an extraordinarily helpful like diagnostic tool. And to be completely honest, I didn't make this. I'm a Kpis certified partner. This is a Kpis image that they like provide to their partners. And we all use it constantly because it's, I think you said it really well. Like this matters whether you've never done it before or it's an iterative process. So some people need to constantly slap this on top and like look at it through a lens of this again, and then analyzing the data, cranking up the volume, rinse and repeat, and figuring out what's going to happen. Because, the fact of the matter is this customer journey, whether you've mapped it out or not, is happening without your permission. If you have a business in any shape or form, people experience it, whether you like it or not. And how they experience it and the touch points in which they experience and the mechanics of how they experience it, those can either be intentional and optimized, or they can be cracks in which people can fall and disrupt, the whole journey.
Perfect. So there's a couple really big things that we need to cover here. Let's start from the beginning. Collect leads. You bring kind of an automation superpower to this. So what are some of the most unautomated things that people are typically doing that they don't know that they can automate or haven't automated?
I love this question so much.
I had a feeling.
There's obviously like knowledge and generational gaps of technology in the last, couple decades. And so like some of my clients are like elderly gentlemen who literally, I'm not kidding, I received an envelope in the mail of like cards because he had a fishbowl at his, at his table. Was like, I have all these business cards. And I was like, okay, let's
Day one. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, that's a great example of, it could be as simple as, opt in on my website, go to X website, fill in your name and email, and then it's already in the database with having me. I'm like, if you want to pay my hourly rate for me to do data entry, okay.
Might not be the best play. Yeah.
Right, but there's so many fancy and fun and easy ways to do it, like text Chris to 12345678890, and all
Cool.
of a sudden you're like engaged in this automated conversation that collects the necessary info and keeps you like moving down that journey.
Got it. Okay, so email opt-in, landing page opt-ins, SMS opt-ins. I would imagine for most of our viewers, hopefully that's in place, or at least they're very well aware of it. Once you have target, attract, and capture, you're getting these leads. Your list is growing, and you're able to communicate with them in multiple ways. Converting the client. What are being a certified Keep specialist? Like, let's talk email. Let's talk SMS. How do you keep that conversation going?
I was super excited about getting to this part with you specifically, being like such like, a fire salesperson and engaging in real conversations with people. Whereas like my perspective is from the automating point. But like I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of overlap, right? Like number one, it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
Number two, it has to be like high touch points. I see so many people lose business because we look at this framework and I'm like, okay, cool. So you have someone's email address. How many times do you email them? And they're like, once.
And how's that going?
Yeah, what's the point for that? Let's
Right.
measure. Let's measure the conversion from someone who knows a little bit about you to spending money. Like it just,
Right.
these things, and I don't mean to like say that in like a demeaning way, like, come on, yuck, yuck, yuck. It's more like, hey, like let's look at this, let's measure and then grow. So like this is exactly why we're having this conversation. This is exactly why I literally put this picture up and I say, what are you doing for each of these? And that it's very, very easy to poke holes in what's going on so people can just patch that up. And it's like, does your driveway have potholes or or is it like a smooth journey to someone buying?
So let's give some context to this. Let's say that we have a service-based business, a SaaS business, an agency, business to some level,
Mhm,
uh, and there's 3 sales reps,
mhm,
and we need to manage that team. How we need obviously a CRM setup for them. We need emails going out. We need text messages going out. We need to record calls ideally. There's a lot of, and that's just per call. Let's
mhm.
even, we can even throw Zoom, right? So they're not even just calls or Zoom meetings. Okay. So we're recording that. How are we storing that? How do we automate this sales process?
Yeah. So you bring up really great points. You were like, well, there's this and there's this and there's Zoom and
You can pick
there's
any of them, by the way. Yeah.
right. But I mean, like sometimes less techie people and like less techie people hire me as the techie person. And I think one of the reasons that I tend to be successful with my clients is because I don't come at them with like the techie, like I wouldn't say that to them. Like this is our
Right,
conversation.
right, right.
I wouldn't be like, well, what do you do with blah 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 blah, like the 14 different stats parts, and okay, how do you track this? Like, it's more like the very first thing is I say is like, well, what's the experience you want for your customers? And they're like, well, it would be really nice if after we hung up an email went out saying thank you. And I'm like, let's start there.
Cool.
It's
Yeah.
like the experience that you want, and then then I'll geek out for sure, and I'll have a great time doing it. But I'm not going to come at you with the geeky stuff and suggestions. It's more like, what do you want the result to be? How do you want the experience to be for the customer? How can we improve the experience for the customer? Do they have to wait for their follow up 2 weeks every time because you have to create folders and have to
Yeah.
upload this? Like, you can zap that, you know?
You can zap that. There's a zap for that.
There-
No, I love it. I love that the focus, your approach. Number one, meeting people where they're at. Number two, h- just building as you go. It can get overwhelming, but if you just have one thing, take action. You kind of keep following that. You'll eventually go faster and make a lot more progress. That all said, let's nerd out for a second because we're amongst fellow sales professionals, marketing professionals. So, what are you seeing? What are the big demands? What are the most common automated systems that people are really wanting that are driving results?
Yeah. Quick follow up. like eliminating the time. That's always like my
Okay.
first recommendation, because
Yeah.
it's usually a lot of work on the internal team, but like a huge void for the customer experience. They're like, I just got off the phone with Chris. We had such a great conversation. And then if you hear crickets afterwards, that can be really frustrating from like the customer experience standpoint.
So let's okay. So I love that follow up is essentially the response and doing it promptly. So what are the forms of communication of follow up that you recommend?
I think, an email as quick as possible, but
Hmm.
with an authentic tone of voice. So, one of my favorite tactics for a lot of like hands on sales teams that are making the phone calls and building relationships with people,
Yeah.
one of my favorite tactics is, instead of Chris Baden hanging up the phone and then typing out a thank you email, is actually filling out like an internal form inside of Keep. So it's not a public web form; it's an internal form
Oh,
that
okay.
has different sections that will populate a real thank you email, but
Oh, that's kind of
you don't
cool.
have to do it. So like I'll prepare a templated email that's like, dear first name, had an awesome call today, and then I'll merge in, and this what will fill in on the call, like a personal fact, like, love that you live in Montana. I've always wanted to been there. So like merge in a personal detail, and then the templated form stuff, great. Hey, don't forget the next steps are blah, 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 prepare them for what's going on. And then once again, merge in like the personal reminders. So, like, the bullets will be there waiting for you to fill that in the form. Like, before our next call, I would really like you specifically to make sure you get X, Y, and Z. And then instead of, again, but the point at the end of the day is like, you're filling out a couple like cells, like basically a spreadsheet, right? And you hit a button and it fills in an email. It feels really authentic because it is. It's your voice, it's fun facts, it's your personal follow up. And that email goes out instantly. And instead of 2 weeks later, you saying thank you, they get a thank you instantly. That's obviously a real message from like your real relationship.
I love it. So there's a form. It's like I don't have much space in this little camera. So
Yeah.
there's maybe we'll go on this side. There's a form that the sales pro gets done with the call, the Zoom call, fills completes the form that translates into an email and that's sent off.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very cool.
And then
Um,
it can also kick off stuff like timers for managerial staff. So, like, if they know that a call just finished and the thank you email went out, then a timer can start ticking. And if like the next step hasn't happened in X amount of time, you can like manage that.
and how would we want to manage that? Like they would send like a different email or like do some other type of follow up.
Yeah. So one of my ninja tricks that I speak a lot about at like techie type conferences is using Trello boards, which are free. Using
Point.
Yeah, point. Brownie points. I like to use Trello boards to manage long processes, like long sales processes, long
Okay.
fulfillment processes, multi-hands processes. So here's a great example. I built a Trello board, so like Kanban style, left to right,
Mhm.
where this guy sells websites. And it's just this one guy, but he has like a designer in China, and then he has like the, whatever, and then the WordPress developer over here in India. So it's
Okay.
like all over the place. He doesn't want these people in a CRM. So he's on the sales call, fills out the form, and then automatically a Trello card gets created and starts tagging in people to do their step. But then the timer kicks on so that if that first person doesn't move that card over for the next step in the process, he's alerted. Knowing, so there's no dropped balls. He can see all of his clients. Full screen here. He
You
can
see,
see.
I told you it's difficult.
Yeah, so that's one of my ninja tricks is like creating Trello cards so that people in different systems, countries, steps of the process can see everything that's going on, and the manager can see what's going on, and then there's like timers going on in the background, so he knows how many people are in list one, how many people have been in list one too long, how
That
many people are in
is
list 12.
gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the notification? Is it like a text reminder or is it an email that's just sent saying,
Um,
"Hey, this person's stuck."
yeah, it's more for like managerial oversight. So when I build it out, it's like a dashboard widget. So just when I log in to my
Ah,
computer every day, I literally just see a saved search list of 27 people are in list one, 10 people have been in there longer than 30 days. So
Okay.
it's just lists, but then I can also like I can look at my board and be like, okay, this is what's going on. But I like to just have some numbers right in front of me at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally like that setup. Okay,
Really?
so this is great. So, people are moving along the process. You have all the triggers and the reminders, which is key. Follow up. The money is in the friggin' follow up.
Mhm.
I yet to find someone I really need to sell on that. Everyone's like, oh yeah, no, totally. Yep, money's in the follow up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
totally.
have
If
great.
someone moves, let's say the designer moved the card over for the developer to do the next thing,
Yeah.
you can automate things like sending a text message to the client like, "Hey, just an update, your project has moved from here to here and we're still working on it." So that way they're not just sitting there for a month waiting for a website to be built, like
So
hoping
cool.
it's getting done.
If there's any agency owner service providers out there and you have those clients that are like, what's going on? And they're constantly checking for, like, you need that process right there. Like, that would be huge. You feel like the experience is like, oh, whoa, like these guys have their, poop in a group. They got their stuff together and they're on top of it. And that's going to increase the experience, obviously, and boost confidence that
Yep.
their, great work's being done. Okay.
Automation follow-up is amazing. It's a dream.
So important. Um, Okay. Okay. So we got email, we have SMS plugged in there. And how does this all work with like KPIs and tracking? Right.
Mhm.
So if we're still in the conversion piece, the sales department, I mean, booked calls, how many showed up, how many closed. Those could be three simple, KPIs. How are we seeing that data?
Yeah, so it depends what tools you're using. I mean, like obviously, being a Keep certified partner, there's
Yeah. I just
built-in.
figured we'd hang there for today.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, so KPIs for one. I mean, there's probably industry standards, but I mean, that's something you got to pick. Is like this is what I want to determine my success. But in terms of like the data coming through, that's why this whole, the whole graphic of the journey left to right, like it's an iterative process. So there's really only two ways to make more money off of your process. You can either optimize it or you can crank up the volume. But you don't want to crank up the volume first because otherwise you're literally spending money for people to drop off because if you know there's holes, you don't want to do that either. So, the nice thing about the whole chart and like the 9 steps and everything is like then you actually literally have a visual representation of, oh, where do I need to even like set up my KPIs? Like what, how am I doing with my targeting? How many people are actually landing on my website? How many people are opting in? How many people are opening my first 6 emails? How many people are getting to the point where I even make my offer? How many people, so on and so forth. So it provides an actual framework. So I'm not a data nerd, believe it or not. I'm like very I'm like the social butterfly that just happens to like technology and automation. So like, that's why I like to look at it from it's like, well, is it fun? Like
There we go. Yeah.
what's it like for them? So I'm not a data nerd, and that's why I prefer to use tools that can spit out the conversion rates for me. Yeah.
This is exactly why I knew you'd have the perfect answer because I always want the dashboard that just tells me the important numbers so I can make informed and impactful decisions based on that. But it's like, the tracking and the work and the building and the automation and like there's people that are really good at it and also enjoy it. And it sounds like you and I are. You're. I mean, you're a good hybrid. Obviously, that's like what you're able to be able to set up and do. So,
Yeah.
um,
I
okay,
want
great.
to I want to I want to elaborate on something you said. Like find the
Yeah,
people who are good at that. So like that's why I love what I do so much because um people reach out to me when they're like ready and they're basically like I would rather be good at my thing and then ask Jade to be good at her thing.
yeah,
So it's really important. I mean, these 9 steps, you could probably hire an independent freelance contractor to like to get better at each of these. Like, who are you paying for your Google AdWords for targeting your audience? Could that be optimized? Pay that person. Who made your lead magnet? Are people engaging in it?
yeah.
Do they like what you're offering? You could literally hire a person to fix each of these things independently, if not more. But in my world, like Keep is the perfect tool for solopreneurs and very small business owners.
Mhm.
So I often deal with small business owners who wear all the hats, so that's why they buy Keep in the first place. They can do a lot of things, but still at the end of the day, like a tool is only as good as the person using it. So, they're like they're ready and they're like, I want more out of this. So that's when they reach out to the partner community. Um, yeah. So I mean, just find someone who's good at that, because I mean, you just at the end of the day, like you want to do the reason that you started your business. Like if you love chicken farming, like go be a chicken farming and don't waste your time learning how to be a web developer to talk about chicken farming, because then you're not chicken farming anymore.
So true. It's so true. So to finish the infinite circle race slash racetrack here, I'm trying to figure out what this looks like. Um, we end with create fans,
Mm.
deliver, impress, multiply. I'm really curious to hear what processes and automations you're seeing that people want that are working really well and converting, so everyone listening can maybe make some adjustments to their current
Oh,
setup.
for sure. I'm obsessed with this last piece, mostly because it's fascinating to me how under leveraged it is. Because I mean, if you think about the first piece, the collecting leads, you're running ads, you're getting people onto your list. That's like time and money. You're spending energy and money to get people in. But if you can take the people who are already on your list and put them back, or get clients from the people who already like you, that's free. you know, it's not. And I know a lot of like service-based business owners who are like, I'm referral based only. I'm like, okay, cool. What's your formal process for that? And they're like, oh, it just happens on accident.
Oh.
So few people um, leverage this to its highest capability and do it well and optimize it just as much as they would as like paid ads. Very few people pay attention to the end, and it's in my opinion, it's the best, most fun part. Like, so deliver obviously is like the fulfillment of your process. That could always be optimized. Like, like how, like, what boxer are you using? Does it make people go, dang, that's really cool? Like, are you like the impressed part? I unfortunately, one of my hobbies is having cocktails and ordering things off Instagram.
Such a
And
specific activity, but I like it.
it's very enjoyable. And I love, like, I bought makeup the other day, and first of all, it came in like the shiniest box. And I
Oh,
was like,
perfect.
10 out of 10 would buy again. And then I opened the box, and there was like, I ordered makeup, ordered a foundation, but then there was like a free uh, eyeliner in it. And I was like, like, over delivering is A, fun. Um, B, a very cost effective way of getting people to be like, holy shit, I want to do business with these people. Instead of paying
Mm,
for the lead from the beginning, think about how much cheaper that is to just give them a little extra. I
yeah.
mean, so effective to impress people. And then multiply. Like I said, so many people, like insurance and financial and attorneys and all these service based businesses, once they're established, they don't do a lot of marketing because it's kind of like an organic referral thing. But the ones who formalize it, man, that it like turns their referral business on turbo. Like, do you have loyalty programs? Do you have like VIP lists where people can text in to get like extra stuff? Like, this is so fun to me. I love this part. It's so awesome.
A common thing that I see, and just riding off some of your passion and excitement there, are like gift boxes or like starter guides or like a welcome box thing. Um, so with this all being said, like from an automation standpoint, does everything start around the transaction completed in Stripe or Braintree or PayPal or whatever someone's using, and then that, like, what automations are you starting to set up from when that event happens?
Yeah. Well, to like There's some of it can be automated, and some of it is automating the reminder to do something manual. Like,
Okay.
I think a very underused tactic is when someone buys, automatically create a task to send a handwritten thank you card.
Okay.
Not hard, right?
Yep.
Get a box of cute cards and write an
There you
actual
go.
note with your real hand, and I've seen that work super well. Like,
Hmm.
I do it for a client. I'm his community manager, and people regularly like post pictures of their cards like in the Facebook group.
Oh, very
So
cool.
they're like, "No, I don't get handwritten thank you cards all the time." I'm like, took about 30 seconds out of my day, but it like felt good and it feels good to them. So it really
So
leaves
cool.
a lasting impression. So you can automate stuff like that. Of course, there's services that can integrate where like if someone buys, then it pings them to like send a box of brownies or thank you gifts and stuff like that. That all can absolutely be automated. In terms of fulfillment, um, I think that the creative ways are always like the cutest and funnest. Like I'll never forget this. I read this like 10 years ago. This guy was applying to a bunch of jobs and job market was really saturated, so he was having a hard time. So he put his resume in like a box of donuts and then like had the donuts delivered to the CEO, and then he got a job because they were like, that's just cool.
Were they
So
Krispy Kremes?
I don't know. It was something really fancy. It was like local and it was like specifically ordered for the CEO. So they were like, oh, cool. I got this awesome thing. And someone's resume wasn't accepted.
That's funny. And if
So
they happen to be Krispy Kremes, that'd be perfect because I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Krispy Kreme. I just happen to still have that commercial here, so I figured we'd use it. But um, Krispy Kreme doing this. But if someone sends me donuts, I won't be mad. So being different is definitely important. I love those stories of just how to build relationship, catch attention, pattern, interrupt. It's I don't know. There's so much creativity and fun and life in it, so that's cool.
Right. I mean, if you were to ask a person like outside of their business, like, like what's unique and fun about you? They probably wouldn't be hard to be like, well, I'm quirky because so like why don't we do that in our businesses? Like so,
Yeah.
so for me, I'm an extremely like social person. So like I send a lot of like videos. When people
Okay.
like buy or ask me questions, I like record. I'm like, oh, hey, what's that? Love your dog in the background there. So I just want to answer your question, and I hit send, and then like I build really great relationships that way. But
Wait, you
that
hit
works.
send before you answer the question? Sorry. Chris, you're not funny, Chris. You're not funny, Chris. Uh, just want
But
to answer your question. Oh, I got cut off. I always get cut off. That's cool. That's cool that you, yeah, are building that rapport and that relationship and taking the time to do the video. Oddly enough, like that is odd or that's not as normal, and that goes a long way, I'd imagine.
But my point though is that like I wouldn't say maybe like use that tactic yourself if you're watching this. I would say like that works for me because it's authentic to me. So like what's really cute and quirky and like so if you're unless you're the only person in the world who sells or does what you do, which is extremely unlikely, right? But like so the answer is why you and how can you use that to your advantage not just in your sales and marketing, but in your fulfillment and your impressing people afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, once the transaction's done, that's not the end, it's the beginning of the like really the journey. So everyone listening to this conversation, that's leaning in, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like we're walking through the customer journey, going through different automations and processes that we can apply into our business." And if they want more of that and they want some more Jade, where's the best place to find you?
So I'm trying to pivot out of independent consulting because I like it too much and I have zero churn because people ask me to do one thing and then they stick around forever because we hang out. So I'm trying to figure out, I would like to speak more and like hang out with like larger groups of people.
Yeah.
So you can learn more about me at jadeolivia.co. If you accidentally type in com, it will redirect. It's okay.
Oh, whew.
Um, it
Ah.
became for sale after I launched JadeOlivia.co. Whatever. I'm not upset. So JadeOlivia.co, and you'll see information about both my speaking, the whole life cycle marketing and customer journey process. And you can book a call with me to chit chat. And when basically I'll have the same conversation, but like intimately with you, but like, are you at least doing this, this, and this? And then when you're having these light bulb moments, um, I don't do everything. I do like this much of the digital marketing world. So it's likely like maybe you need a better website or Facebook ads or something like that. But I'm really well connected with some phenomenal providers that I trust with my business all the time. So I'm a connector.
Connector. I like it.
Mhm.
Well, that makes it that's exactly why you're part of the FlowChat fam, because
Mhm.
our like identity is the FlowChat connectors. So that works great. Did I spell jadeolivia.co?
Nailed it.
And if I accidentally put .com, it does redirect, as you said. So, we're covered there. Jade, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing your experiences and your background, your superpower with all of us today. The question I like to end with is always to freelance, to put yourself out there, to use what you were given to serve other people. There's a certain level of vulnerability to it. And so essentially I'm going to ask you why. Why do you do it? Why do you put yourself out there? Why do you like learn more and meet more people? And I'm always curious on what drives people. So what drives you, Jade?
That's extremely opportunistic of you having asked me that, because I have been asking myself that in my close circles for about 2 months straight now.
Hmm.
Where I'm like, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? And I've been digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And at the end of the day, the thing that connects all the things that I love is the relationships.
Hmm.
My favorite quote is, "What's better, the journey or the destination?
Hmm.
The company."
Nice. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's 1,000% me. Like I
Hmm.
think I'm finding myself successful because I'm not trying to be successful. I'm trying to build lasting relationships with people, and then the success kind of followed that.
Love it. Love it. That's it's so good. um, Jay, thank you for being you. Thank you for focusing on building those relationships. I know we'll get to continue to build ours and have more of these chats and conversations. And all the sales ascenders and FlowChat fam that's been watching this whole time, thank you always for tuning in and checking this out. We will continue to bring awesome people like Jade each and every week that are real people getting real results. And we're going to share all that with you guys. So, hey, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you for hanging out.